because that means the next slide. Well, let me give a little background. So this is President Mahama giving his speech at the United Nations. He made some strong statements as well. He said that the need for this to happen at this time was to prevent erasure from occurring in history, and you can move it forward. So a response then came from the minority leader, who is Afenyo Markin, who sought to dismiss the efforts of President Mahama, saying that somebody brought a ship to the coast and you ran up and went to the Bono region and the north and went to capture people and brought them to the ship, and now you won't get paid for that, right? That's in a nutshell. Okay, moving forward, please. And then investigative journalist Manasseh Awini also came out and said something similar. And his question was, who sold the slaves? In other words, if the people on the motherland perpetrated this heinous crime, then why are there calls for reparative justice? So, and then there were also, as President Mahama was delivering his speech, he was actually at the burial grounds in New York, the African burial grounds, and there were a group of people protesting, saying that they do not want people from Ghana basically acting on their behalf. And these people, as you know, are known as FBA, or Foundational Black Americans, and then there's also a group known as ADOS. So they were also protesting. A few of them, very few in number, protesting. But by and large, this has been very welcome news throughout the African world, very welcome news in the United States, in the African American community, and also in the Caribbean community. So, point here being that the naysayers are not going to be in the majority, and that they need to revisit history. And I want to take this opportunity to make a very fervent plea to the government of Ghana, because I've been informed that history is no longer a required subject in school. And I want to make this plea for that to be brought back as soon as possible, because it is showing in the kind of levels of ignorance that have been put forward by people of high standing in the society. So give thanks. Let's move forward, please. So I want to start by going back to what perpetrated this whole act, where one group of people decided to come into the African continent and enslave people and bring them to the Caribbean, the Americas, and scatter us all over the world. And this, we can find its beginnings in the papal bull known as Dum Diversas, which was issued by Pope Nicholas V exactly on 18 June 1452. In this papal bull, Nicholas V authorized King Alfonso V of Portugal to go throughout the world. This was what became known as the doctrine of discovery. But the authority came from the Pope, who gave it to Alfonso and said, go throughout the world and to reduce any Saracens. Saracens is another name for Muslims, and pagans, and any other unbelievers to perpetual slavery. So this is just a paraphrase. And the original document you can see in the back, but you can move forward, Emperor, please. So this is a fuller capture of the Dum Diversas papal bull of Pope Nicholas V, 18 June 1452. He said that King Alfonso and the people of Portugal should invade, search out, capture, vanquish, and subdue all Saracens and pagans whatsoever, and other enemies of Christ wheresoever placed, and the kingdoms, the dukedoms, principalities, dominions, possessions, and all movable and immovable goods whatsoever held and possessed by them, and to reduce their persons to perpetual slavery and to appropriate to himself, that is, King Alfonso himself, to appropriate these people's properties and his successors, the kingdoms, the dukedoms, the counties, the principalities, the dominions, and goods, and to convert, I can see the bottom, but he's basically saying that to convert them and to reduce them into slavery forever and to use whatever they have for profit. Now, the question is, this is exactly what we've seen. We have seen the age of exploration. These powers, European powers, go into the world. They went to places where they considered home of the Saracens, which are the Muslims, the pagans, which are people like the Africans, which they considered to be enemies of Christ, and reduced our people to perpetual slavery. And also, they have appropriated for themselves our property, our land, our minerals, everything that is beholden unto us, and they have used that for profit. So this is the very root of the whole slavery enterprise that occurred. I want to pause for a minute and take some thoughts from the item before I proceed.